topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Los Angeles. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where we bring you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I am so excited about our first show today because I have been doing this show for 15 years, and I never realized how important neuropathy is. It has become such a big show topic for our show. We are now doing a neuropathy show in 7 different cities. This is our Los Angeles, our largest market show, and we were so lucky to find one of the top doctors in neuropathy. Let me welcome you to Dr. Jason Kilberman of the Westside Wellness Center. Good afternoon, Jason.
Hello there. Thanks for having me.
I am so lucky to have you. I am telling you, I am shocked by the people who think they have neuropathy, or they have neuropathy and their doctor has done nothing for them. You have had much more of a success story when it comes to neuropathy. And I got to tell you, you're a chiropractor. The things that chiropractors are doing now, Jason, just blows me away. You are so far ahead of the curve. You tried to warn people about that for a long time. But chiropractors have kept people from having knee surgery, from back surgery. And now we're talking neuropathy today, which, Jason, I didn't realize how important of a health topic this is.
It's huge now. The stats are getting bigger by the year. Largely, I would say, due to toxicity in our environment, our food supply, diabetes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are so many different ways that you can get it. It's actually one of the reasons why the medical world is having trouble finding ways to treat it. At the moment, 99% of the medical world is simply medicating for pain with things like gabapentin or Lyrica. And in some cases, that's all that people want because we're so drug oriented in this country. It's like there's a pill for everything. I mean, you can't remember something, there's a pill for that. You can't have sex, there's a pill for that. You go on and on and on. You have heartburn, it goes on and on and on. That's our society at this point. And, the medical world has done some great things for us. We have amazing, emergency medicine. But unfortunately, digging deeper into cures that have no monetary upside, okay, natural cures which don't involve patented drugs, etc., are just not worked through, and that's kind of what all of the chiropractors, naturopaths, and other osteopaths and other alternative, medical people have been doing for decades. And so we always had our eyes and ears open for things that we could do that was helpful for our patients. And, and I'm no exception to that. I mean, 20 years ago, when I had my first neuropathy patient walk in the door, I had a laser in my office for treatment that was amazing. But I found that it only helped about 15% of the neuropathy patients at that point. Of course, that was 20 years ago, when laser technology was not as advanced as it is now. Now we have unbelievable lasers that do so much more. So every year, everybody learns more and more. It's been my practice to always keep up with, add into anything that's newer, that works better, quicker, more effectively, for my patients, because it's just who I am, and so we've dealt with many different modalities, treatment protocols, supplements, things to be done at home, etc. And as part of my journey with that, I realized that nobody had really good foot rehabilitation. There's no exercises that are designed to strengthen your feet. And believe it or not, people who have neuropathy, walking is not strengthening for them. It's actually weakening for them. And the analogy I'm going to make with that is, if you broke your ankle, would you walk on it? Okay.
Yeah.
So neuropathy is nerve damage. Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage in the feet or hands. And nerve damage means that the muscles that the nerves feed aren't going to work as well. Muscles move bones. Okay. So if your muscle doesn't work, the joint, etc., that it's attached to isn't going to work. And thus the feet start to dysfunction. So as a kinesiologist, that's been my specialty in the chiropractic field for 40 years. I saw this, and I want to say 10 years ago, I began researching, engineering, developing, and patenting a piece of equipment so that we could actually strengthen your feet, get your balance back, get you walking again. And when I use the term strengthen, I use it loosely, because anytime you exercise muscles, you're moving blood and oxygen and circulation. So it has many purposes. So just understand, when I say exercise, it both increases stability, but vascularity at the same time. So we've been thrilled to do that. We are expanding that this year. At the moment, we're trying to get it manufactured someplace that is reasonable, so we can have that available for all Americans. And one of the things that I'm going to look at this year is working with podiatrists, because I mean, this is their whole world. So they know very little about this equipment, and I think it'd be an amazing adjunct to anybody who does anything with feet, athletes, podiatrists, therapists, etc., chiropractors, everybody, because it's the foundation for our body. And nerve damage is rampant. So let's talk about this. A lot of people say, well, I'm starting to develop. If symptoms come on slowly, that is a normal progression that is very treatable. Obviously, it's better to get started sooner rather than later. But if you wake up one day and your feet don't work at all, you need to go immediately and get instant attention, because that is much more aggressive and severe. So, yeah, that's not you partying too much on Friday night and on Sunday your feet don't work. No, that's a whole different scenario. And by the way, alcoholism can cause neuropathy.
Wow.
Anything
Hey,
that affects the
Jason,
liver can cause neuropathy.
what made you decide to dedicate a large part of your practice to neuropathy?
That's a good question. And for me, it happened slowly, in that I started to get really good at innovating new protocols that worked. And I just enjoyed it. I mean, I love helping people who have been told, you're just going to have to live with it.
Yeah.
Doc, I can't balance. Get a walker. No, it's just like, that's not who I am. I want to find a solution. And so little by little, once that occurred, I just enjoyed it more and more. Now, that's not to say that I don't get some of the toughest cases around, and I'm pulling the rest of my hair out sometimes trying to help those people. But that's the way it goes. We definitely can't help everybody. There are some cases that are too far gone. My general rule is if you're already in a wheelchair, I probably can't help you because it's been too long. But I have helped some in wheelchairs. It's very difficult for me to handle wheelchair cases in this office. So anybody listening out there that
You see the
applies to that.
question
Yeah.
over in the chat? We got a question from a
Yeah.
listener. Is that a poor circulation issue to start with?
So circulation is one of the ways that you can have nerve damage. Toxicity is another, okay? In particular, heavy metals, mercury, lead, aluminum, cadmium, even arsenic. In addition to that, immune things can damage. So there are many things that cause it. Circulation is one, and that can occur. It's usually not that they have an arterial vascular problem that creates that. It's usually more on the diabetic side where the nerves are damaged, so the circulation is compromised. Because nerves control everything. I mean, literally everything in your body is controlled by some nerve, and your brain is the master controller of all of it.
Jason, we're getting inundated by text questions. People
Shoot one.
wanting to know. We got 1, 2, 3, 5 people all have the same question. How do you know when to come in and see a doctor on when you think you might have neuropathy? That's a good question.
That's a good question. And the answer is everybody's a little different. Some people come in right away because they know something's off. Some of us just live with a lot of stuff, okay? Because whatever, we're busy, we don't like doctors, whatever the circumstance is. The key there is as your quality of life and your function decreases, you really should get on it, okay? If your balance is already off, if you're already needing a cane, you really need to get in instantly because neuropathy is not usually going to turn around by itself. It's usually a progressive degenerative disease. So it's going to get worse unless you do something about it.
Look, there's a question in the chat. How do those things get into the body?
Oh, let me count the ways. Okay. Well, hey, we're here in Los Angeles, so we had fires recently. Guess what? We breathed a lot in.
Yes.
So every chemical in a home just got released into the atmosphere and we all breathed that in. And some of us are going to be more sensitive to that than others. And some of us are closer than others. So that's number one. So airborne is one way. Food is another. Water is another. Those are the three most common. And then just household exposure for things like mold, for example. I've had a couple of cases recently where their trigger, if you will, for their neuropathy was mold exposure.
What
So
about
that just gives you a
asbestos?
flavor on how many different ways things can happen. And then there are nutritional deficiencies. Then there are reactions to drugs that also create neuropathy. So there's a variety of different sources and ways that you can get it. It's important that you get properly evaluated to get to the root cause so your outcome is better. Okay.
One of our shows that we do in California is asbestos. Is that
Yeah.
another area?
I don't see a lot of that anymore. A couple of decades ago, there was quite a bit.
I
Not
know a
much.
lot of times mold has to do with
Yeah.
asbestos. I don't understand. How are all these MDs missing this? Because you have spent so much time with neuropathy and you understand it. How come doctors don't, MDs don't understand it?
Well, the only way I can answer that is that we have a compartmentalized system in the medical world. So most MDs are going to defer to the neurologists.
Mm.
And that, I mean, that's their nerves are the neurologist's world, and rightly so. And in that world, there's only a couple of options. Again, the first line is usually medication. The only other line that they typically use is intravenous therapies, in particular, what's called intravenous immunoglobulin therapy. And that's only used in the severe cases, the ones that come on suddenly and are what we call demyelinating. So the nerves have a sheath that's made of fat that's called myelin. And when that degenerates, the transmission of the nerve pathway degenerates, such that instead of proper messages going up and down, the brain, the nervous system is getting altered information. Okay. And I'm just using that word altered because it could be too little, too much. It could change this sound into that sound, this sensation into pain, this sensation into burning, that sensation into ants crawling on my feet, whatever the case may be. When the nerve dysfunctions, it runs amok and you get a whole assortment of pain. And interestingly enough, the type of symptom that you have is often related to the type of nerve damage that you have. So I'm going to oversimplify here as small fiber and large fiber neuropathy. Don't quote me on that because there was a lot of mixed in between, et cetera. But for the most part, the large fiber give you numb and tingling, and the small fiber give you pain, burning, and cramping. And many people have both. So, it's a little bit of a puzzle, but if you dig deep, you can usually unwind it.
Why does it affect the feet? Why doesn't it affect the hands at all?
Well, it does affect some hands. In fact, in some diabetics, it affects the whole body, but the feet are the most common. Here's a perfect example. I had a gentleman come in today with hand numbness. And yes, he's pre-diabetic. What does that mean? Here's a tip for you guys. If your doctor says you're pre-diabetic, chances are your diet's wrong and you're heading in the wrong direction, and you're going to end up as a diabetic, which means you don't handle carbs and sugars very well. So the first thing you should do is change your diet and get some exercise, and thwart that off, because you really don't want to become diabetic if you have the ability to do that. But that's basically it.
What is there a certain demographics that you see in the office, male, female, or age demographics?
Okay, so here's the concept. Most are over 50. Okay, the slow degenerative types are going to be anywhere from 50 to 75, roughly. Although I get some older patients as well. When I see a younger person coming in with neuropathy, it's almost always diabetes, alcoholism, or drug involved. Okay. And they have a whole, so unfortunately in America these days, our diabetic patients are coming in earlier and earlier. I don't know if you heard Kennedy's speech the other day on the meeting on television that they had. And he was basically saying when his uncle, our previous President Kennedy, was around, our diabetic rate was so small, our neuropathy rate was so small, it wasn't even heard of. And now our diabetic rate, our chronic healthcare rate is so high that it's taking up a large portion of our healthcare budget. And so one has to say, and I'm with him on this, you have to start with good food, good air, good water. Those are the basics. And if you're not getting that, something's going to break down. So I'm a fan of establishing that. I think the idea of establishing good nutrition young in life and in the school system is a great one. I remember when I was young, we had whole wheat bread at lunchtime. A lot of kids used to, we don't want the whole wheat. I used to eat the whole wheat. So there you go. That's me. But whole nutrition is, look, we make fantastic things, these days in production, but our body likes what nature makes without all the chemical additives. And that's just a fact. I wish it wasn't that way, but that's the way it is. The cleaner you can eat, the healthier you're going to be.
Here's Mark in Malibu. He said, I am surprised at this topic. I am so glad somebody is offering it. Thank you for your show. Can you walk us through how you diagnose neuropathy?
Sure. It starts out with a complete neurologic examination, just like the neurologist would do. I look at reflexes. I test sensory items down the leg. I use instruments that decipher whether it's small fiber, large fiber. Instead of the old tuning fork, we have modern tools that create the same vibrational therapies that I can adjust and tune into. I also do manual testing to see what kind of strength you have in your feet. And we overlay all of that information with what should be healthy versus what's neurologic. So, for example, a healthy person has healthy reflexes. A neuropathy patient has diminished or absent reflexes. Okay, one's ability to sense somebody touching their skin can get altered. So there's about 25 different tests that we do to see how far the nerve damage is. Is it just in the toes? Is it just in the top of the foot, the bottom of the foot, the ankle, the calf? How far up the damage is already gone? And then put that all together into a, what I call, is it mild, moderate, or severe category, which will then dictate how quickly you need to move on it and how extensive you need to be with it and how comprehensive you should be.
Mark had a follow-up question. What happens if you don't address, if you have neuropathy and you don't address it? What could happen?
It usually just gets worse. And the rate at which it gets worse is different in everybody. Some go quickly and some go very slowly. Some people who, look, I've had thousands of patients already in this category. So some people, if they're more numb than painful, they're more likely to live with it longer. Okay, if they have pain that's getting worse or cramping that's getting worse, they're more likely to do something about it. Look, that's how we are as humans. Okay, the more debilitating the symptoms, the more likely they are to get help for it sooner. I wish it wasn't that way, but that's kind of how we prioritize in our world. So I hope that answers that question.
Here's one. My mother moved to Arizona. I know she has neuropathy. She is in a wheelchair. Are you saying it's too late for you to do anything for her?
In my clinic, I'm saying. I'm not saying that somebody couldn't do some good work with her, but in my clinic, that would be a disqualifying factor, yes.
Dr. Kelman, if you can't help them, I don't see how anybody can help them.
Well, if she's already in a wheelchair, she's going to need she's going to need a team. She's going to need a physical therapist who's either going to come to the home and exercise her and get her moving, or she's going to have to go someplace to get that done. And then she'll need a DMD to help her with her prescriptions, or she'll need to find a chiropractor who can do some great things for her. She's going to need a team. Okay. And I'm just not set up for wheelchair access in this office.
And how long is the treatment? How many treatments do you have to have?
Everybody's different. It depends on whether they're
Yeah,
mild,
that's the thing.
moderate, or
Everybody's body.
the severity of the condition dictates the length of care. I've had patients in as little as 8 weeks do a complete turnaround, and I've have many very severe cases that are 6 to 9 months, and then they continue on with their own home care as well. So it's there's no one size fits all here.
Dr. Kelburn, tell people how they can reach your office. We've got it up on our screen, but
Yeah, you do.
we have so many people listening on radio and
Right.
on iHeart and
I see you have my
Spotify.
website and the office phone number there. Those are all good things. You can also reach me on our direct email at office@wwc.care. That's our inbox, if you will, for email. Happy to discuss issues that somebody may have. We do that all the time from across the country. If somebody in Arizona, that patient, if they can give me what city, I might be able to make a referral for that city. So
your phone number is 310 for those who are listening on iHeart right now or Spotify or WF4CY. 310-268-8008. The website is westsidewellnesscenter.com. And Dr. Kelperman, you're going to be with us again in several weeks. We're going to be doing another live show together. I am so glad we have you. I think this is such an important health topic, health issue. We'll see you again in 2 weeks, Dr. Kelperman.
Thanks for having me. And thank
We're
everybody
going
out
to
there
go
for
to
their
break.
questions.
We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.